A man is dying, poisoned by something that doesn't exist. His family watches helplessly as an invisible entity fills the room with maniacal laughter, celebrating its victory over the man it calls Old Jack. This isn't fiction. This actually happened in 1820 in Robertson County, Tennessee. And what I'm about to tell you is backed by more historical documentation than any paranormal case in American history. You see, the Bell Witch didn't just haunt a house. She physically attacked children. She spoke in multiple voices. She killed a man. And she was so terrifying that future President Andrew Jackson and his men fled after just one night. By the end of this video, you're going to know why this case terrifies even the skeptics. Because what happened to the Bell family will make you question everything you thought you knew about what's possible in this world. It's October 1817. John Bell is walking through his cornfield in Robertson County, Tennessee. The morning mist clings to the ground. Everything is peaceful, until he sees something that defies explanation. There, sitting in the middle of his field, is a creature that shouldn't exist. Part dog, part rabbit. Its eyes are wrong, too intelligent, too knowing. John raises his rifle, fires. The creature vanishes. But that shot started a 4-year nightmare that would destroy his family. Within days, his son Drew encounters a massive bird, wings so large they block out the sun as it takes flight. His daughter Betsy watches a girl in a green dress swinging from an oak tree, only to see her dissolve like smoke. Even Dean, their slave, reports being stalked by a huge black dog that disappears whenever he turns around. The Bell family tries to dismiss these sightings, but then the knocking starts. Picture this. You're lying in bed. It's midnight, and you hear it. Rap, 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 coming from inside your walls. John searches the house. Nothing. The next night it's louder. Rap, rap, rap. Then chains dragging across the floor above your head. But the attic is empty. The sounds become more disturbing. Invisible dogs fighting in the bedrooms, rats gnawing on bed frames that aren't there. And John Bell, he starts experiencing paralysis in his mouth, making it nearly impossible to speak. Then she gets physical. Your bed sheets are ripped off your body by invisible hands. Night after night. But the spirit has a favorite target. 12-year-old Betsy Bell. Imagine being that young girl. You wake up to invisible hands slapping your face, pinching your arms until they're purple, pulling your hair so hard you scream. Betsy would wake up covered in red welts, pin marks in her skin, her hair twisted into impossible knots. The family would watch in absolute horror as their daughter was lifted off the ground and thrown across the room by something they couldn't see. When family friend James Johnston came to help, he witnessed it himself. He told John Bell the truth that chilled everyone. This is a spirit, just like in the Bible. Word spread quickly. People traveled hundreds of miles to witness what locals called the Bell Witch. And then, she started talking. Picture hearing a woman's voice in your home, clear as day, yet seeing no one there. When asked who she was, she replied in a weak, almost pitiful voice, "I am a spirit. I was once very happy, but have been disturbed." But this wasn't just any spirit. She could be in 2 places at once, repeating sermons being preached 13 miles apart simultaneously. She knew everyone's secrets, sharing gossip that always proved accurate. She could mimic any voice perfectly and even communicate with people hundreds of miles away. One Englishman tested her, asked about his parents overseas. The witch immediately began speaking in his parents' exact voices, describing their current activities. The man fled the next morning, later confirming his parents had experienced a supernatural visit at the exact same time. The entity called herself Kate. She had favorites and enemies. She adored Lucy Bell, calling her the most perfect woman to walk the earth, bringing her fresh fruit from thin air and singing beautiful hymns. But she despised John Bell Sr., calling him Old Jack. Kate made it crystal clear. She intended to kill him, and she was obsessed with controlling Betsy's love life. When Betsy became engaged to Joshua Gardner, Kate's attacks became vicious. Living in that house meant Kate controlled everything. She spilled milk, stole sugar, hid items, and terrorized anyone who crossed her. The psychological torment was relentless. Then came the prophecy that froze everyone's blood. Kate announced she would kill John Bell and ensure Betsy never married Joshua Gardner. She succeeded at both. John Bell, once strong and healthy, became bedridden with a mysterious illness no doctor could diagnose. His mouth paralysis worsened until he could barely speak or swallow. December 20, 1820. John Bell Jr. finds his father unconscious, unable to wake. In the medicine cupboard, a small vial of dark liquid no one recognized. Dr. Hobson tests one drop on the family cat. It dies in 7 seconds. Kate's voice fills the room with triumphant laughter. "I gave old Jack a big dose of that last night, and that fixed him." John Bell dies the next day. As family and friends gather for his funeral, Kate's voice interrupts the service, singing drinking songs and cackling with glee over her victory. The pressure on Betsy becomes unbearable. Kate attacks her viciously whenever Joshua visits. Finally, in 1821, Betsy tearfully calls off her engagement. With both missions accomplished, Kate announces she's leaving but will return in 7 years. In 1828, she reappears to the surviving family members, but this time they refuse to engage. Denied attention, she fades away. Or so they thought. Now I know what you're thinking. This sounds like campfire folklore, right? Just another ghost story passed down through generations. Here's the thing. This case is different. First, the paper trail. In 1894, newspaper editor Martin V. Ingram published an authenticated history of the Bell Witch. But Ingram wasn't writing fiction. He spent years interviewing living witnesses, people who had personally experienced the haunting. These weren't fictional characters. John Bell Sr. appears in census records, property deeds, church registers. His family members are documented historical figures with verified lives. But here's what makes this case impossible to dismiss. Independent witnesses with everything to lose. Several accounts say that during his military career, Andrew Jackson was intrigued with the story and his men were frightened away after traveling to investigate. Think about that. The future president of the United States, a war hero known for his courage, allegedly fled from this entity. Captain John R. Bell, no relation to the family, kept a detailed military journal. His return trip on October 19, 1820, crossed the Red River at Port Royal, Tennessee. Later that day, Bell stopped at the Murphy residence in Robertson County to eat dinner. During the stay, Bell was told of a young woman accompanied by a voice. The voice wished for the woman to marry a local man, and thousands had traveled to hear it. This wasn't folklore written decades later. This was a military officer documenting what locals told him while it was happening. The publications New England Farmer of Boston and the Green Mountain Freeman of Vermont in January and February 1856 published an article regarding the Bell Witch legend. Major newspapers across the country reported on this case. This wasn't just local gossip. The evidence continues today. In 1977, 5 soldiers from Fort Campbell visited the Bell Witch Cave. One soldier expressed skepticism when something invisible grabbed him around the chest. In 1986, journalists from the Tennessean attempted to spend the night in the cave. They fled after hearing unexplained screams and groans echoing from deep within. Even attempts to debunk it backfire. When some suggested Betsy Bell was using ventriloquism, She had submitted to any and every test that the wits of detectives could invent to prove the theory, and all the stratagems employed served only to demonstrate her innocence and utter ignorance of the agency of the so-called witchery, and was herself the greatest sufferer from the affliction. Here's what skeptics can't explain. Dozens of witnesses across decades all reported the same impossible events. Respected community members, military officers, traveling investigators, all describing identical phenomena. Discovery Channel, Travel Channel, A&E, they've all documented ongoing activity at the site. This isn't a case that ended in 1821. But here's the smoking gun, John Bell's death. A man poisoned by an unknown substance that killed a cat in 7 seconds. The vial appeared in their home with no explanation. Kate confessed to the murder, and John Bell died the next day. That's not folklore, that's homicide. So there you have it. The Bell Witch. An invisible entity that terrorized a family for 4 years, physically attacked children, and committed murder. The most documented paranormal case in American history. But here's what I need to know from you. What do you think Kate really was? Was she a genuine supernatural entity seeking revenge? A manifestation of collective trauma and guilt over Native American displacement? Some kind of poltergeist phenomenon centered on teenage Betsy? Or something else entirely? Drop your theories in the comments and tell me, have you ever experienced something that made you question reality? I read every comment, and your stories might just become the subject of a future video. If cases like this fascinate you, real paranormal events with actual evidence and documented witnesses, then you need to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Because I'm constantly digging into America's most credible supernatural mysteries, cases that even skeptics struggle to explain away. Speaking of which, next week I'm investigating something that will absolutely blow your mind. The Bridgewater Triangle in Massachusetts, a 200 square mile area where military personnel have documented UFO sightings, Bigfoot encounters, and poltergeist activity. We're talking about multiple government agencies acknowledging unexplained phenomena in one concentrated area. Here's a preview. In 1920, a Massachusetts state police sergeant was driving through the triangle when he encountered something that officially doesn't exist. His report was classified for 30 years. Now we know why. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. Thanks for watching, and remember, the most terrifying stories are the ones that actually happened. Sweet dreams.